Hello and happy Friday. This is Pass Shoot Score. I'm Anna Connolly, joined by Shukri Wrights and Johnny Lazarus. Johnny, I see you are a little under the weather and sipping on some coffee. Anything to do with the last 72 hours?
Yeah, my voice is shot. My internal clock is all fucked up. My body is profusely sweating, and that could be because of the breakfast taco, but also because it's 100 degrees in New York today, and yeah, I'm all messed up. So let's give this our best shot.
Hey, we can give this our best shot. Now, Shukri, let's start with you. Let's get the stuff out of the way. Vegas Golden Knights, Stanley Cup winner 2023. Uh, what'd you think of this series and what'd you think of that final game? Shukri.
Honestly, that the final game was just accumulation of like the season that it has been for the Las Vegas Golden Knights. If you told me that that the that the Vegas Golden Knights, after they hired Bruce Cassidy, after he was fired from the Boston Bruins, I wouldn't have believed you like at all. I wouldn't have believed that it was going to be it was going to happen this quickly. Maybe in the first couple of years, 2 3 years, sure, but this quickly, no. I thought it was just the perfect storm and the perfect ingredients in terms of why the Vegas Golden Knights were able to fulfill the prophecy of their owner, in which that they said that he had years of existence, and he was right. And I think that Bruce, and as well as a healthy Jack Eichel, was really the perfect final touches for a team that had already had all they needed was just that final Chef Emerald bam like type of add to the pot, and then you have Bruce Cassidy and his intensity, and I think Mark Stone really said it perfectly, that he was the perfect coach that brought the perfect level of intensity to that locker room. And something that kind of, well, it was a little bit of a jab at the Boston Bruins, where they were whining and complaining about Bruce Cassidy's a little too hard. But he goes to Vegas and he wins. The irony. So that really was a talking point for a good day and a half here in Boston. But as far as the Vegas Golden Knights are concerned, what a story. I mean, what a story for Aiden Hill. But what a story for the Golden Knights, for them to even be in a position that they were. Aiden Hill taking over halfway through the Stanley Cup playoff run and just taking them all the way onto the Stanley Cup title. And I mean, I can go on, but you got to start with Aiden Hill, the storyline, as well as like Bruce Cassidy, the storyline, and as well as Jack Eichel being healthy and being a big factor in this team winning the Stanley Cup. And you can't forget about Phil Kessel. Now he's a 3-time Stanley Cup winning player after being told that he'll never be a winning player when he was with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Go figure. Let me know how that's worked. But what a story, what a team, and what a run it's been for the Vegas Golden Knights as we now get ready for summer 2023.
Now, Johnny, take us through. I just want you to like talk for the next 10 minutes pretty much. So
Yes.
take us through
Story
that final game from when you woke up. What was that day like for you?
Uh, so it was okay.
What time did you wake up? That's what I
Well,
want to know.
I woke up. I woke up at like the day of the game.
Yeah, day of the game before
Well,
everything happened.
so I woke up at 6 a.m.
Wow.
Pacific time to work my 9 to 5 job. So I was working remote until like 1:30 Pacific time, and then from my day job, I walked over to the rink and did our show Stanley Cup Live, which was an unbelievable show. We had Roberto Luongo on, Emily Kaplan, Derek Engeland. We were supposed to have Kevin Connolly and Sean Avery, but they got stuck in traffic. Trying to think who else. It's all, I mean, all the shows are kind of a blur, but yeah, did the show, then went into the TNT suite again, but this time got kicked out because they were cracking down on security with it being an elimination game. And the game happens, and it's I don't know, an old school pecker slapping, I guess would be the term to call it. 9-3 win. Once Vegas went up 2-0, I booked my flight back to New York. I was like, this thing's over. No way Florida comes back. Sure as shit, they score a goal in the next 2 minutes to make it 2-1 to make it interesting. But Florida had no chance in this game once Matthew Tkachuk was announced that he wasn't playing. I think everyone kind of figured that. Like all my group texts that are involved in sports betting were like, everyone pound Vegas, Tkachuk's not playing. And I'm sure anyone who bets on hockey ran to FanDuel or DraftKings or Bet Online to place that bet because there's no way Vegas was losing that game on home ice. But yeah, I mean, that whole night was absolutely wild. I met this guy, Robbie, who works for Tau Group out in Vegas. So he like runs all the clubs like Hakkasan and Omnia and whatnot. So my good friend Jeff like put me in touch with him. So we were standing together for the game. And then, luckily for me, I had on ice access. So after Vegas won, I got to go on the ice and, I saw Robbie there again and I was like, where's this thing going? And he was like, just show up at Omnia at 1 a.m. and I'll take care of you, which was sick.
Wow.
It was awesome.
For nobody that's been to Vegas, also, like, that's probably the biggest club in Vegas.
I've never been there. So, Johnny, you got to tell us the whole story. Like, what happened at Omnia at 1 a.m.?
Well, so I also told Robbie, I was like, listen, I might be the only guy on the planet who had more fun in Fort Lauderdale than Vegas. Like, and his response was like, that's because you didn't have my number last time you were here. And he was like, all right, I'm taking care of this kid. Yeah, he's like, I'm taking care of this kid. So, I'm on the ice. I actually, funny enough for me, I haven't seen my junior hockey coach, John LaFontaine, who's actually Pat's brother. I played for him for 2 years in Wichita Falls, Texas. And he honestly, changed my life. He's a huge reason as to why I played Division I. And I haven't seen him in like 8 years. I think the last time I spoke to him was like 2 years ago. And I'm walking on the ice, like looking around, and all of a sudden I like lock eyes with him. I'm like, what are you doing here? And he's like, what are you doing here? And his daughter is married. Yeah, his daughter's married to Teddy Bluger. So we like had this like huge hug. I got to celebrate a little bit with them and Teddy, which is really cool. Teddy is the man. Got to hang out with him on the ice for a little bit. They kind of like welcomed me into their little party. But just walking around on the ice, seeing all the families and just the way that I honestly I didn't even know where the cup was. Like I wasn't even concerned with the cup. Like it was more so just like talking to everyone and kind of just like seeing how everyone's reacting to this and whatnot. And ended up becoming really good friends with the Empty Netters guys, Dan and Chris, and then Red is their producer or camera guy. So I was hanging out with them for most of the time, and they rolled with us to Omnia as well as Jazz and Evan Sporer. Evans with BR Open Ice. Jazz is obviously a guy we talk about a lot on here with
Jazz is our unofficial fourth member of Past Shoot Score.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
So then we get into Omnia. Robbie hands me this like slip and goes, that'll save you $1,000. And I was like, sick. So we're standing by the bar and we're there for like an hour. And I'm pretty shot and the cup's not there yet. And I looked at Dan and Chris and I'm like, guys, like, are we sure this thing's coming? Like, should we stay? Like, I'm pretty gassed. Like I was honestly, like shame on me. Cause I was almost looking for every excuse to like go home at this point. Like I was just,
well, you're tired. I mean, like, yeah. You've worked an entire hockey season at this point, and then
not even that. Like the whole day, like I did my job, and then I went to the game and did the show, and then did the post game show, did the on ice. Like this is like already a 20-hour day for me. Like I'm pretty shot, but I was like, I was like looking for something to keep me going, So Jazz is like, hang on. Jazz walks over to this table where Biz is, Murley, Whitney, Kevin Connolly, Hank, all those guys are standing at this table. I see Jazz twirl on over, and 2 seconds later, Biz looks at me and Dan Powers and goes, come here, boys. So we walk over to their table. We hop the couch, fully blend in, and now the night is just saved. So we are now, this is now probably like 2 a.m. We're sitting there, Biz hands us a drink, whatever, and we're like basically on the stage with Steve Aoki. Like Steve Aoki's performing at Omnia. It is. Yeah, wow. It's just like, honestly, at the end of this, like, so I went on the Empty Netters podcast 2 days ago, which is probably coming out today or whatever. And those guys are movie writers. And like they said, like, this is actually could be a movie of like, this team wins the Stanley Cup and we have a guy who like wants to go home like 3 separate times, and like those 3 times something happens that saves the night. So now like 20 minutes after sitting at the table with Biz, the Golden Knights show up with the cup, and I'm like, all right, here we fucking go. Like it's happening now. Like I'm ready to go. Like my whole demeanor has changed. Like I'm ready to stay out for another 5 hours.
So at what about time was this?
Probably 1:30 to 2.
Okay.
And granted, remember that I'm on East Coast hours. I'm an East Coaster. So this is 5
yeah, so it's 5 a.m. for you.
Yeah, this is 5 a.m. for me. So Cup shows up. Mark Stone, Aiden Hill, Petrangelo, Haig, they all make their way to like our section, start lifting the cup up in front of everybody, in front of Steve Aoki. Like place goes nuts. That goes on for like an hour. Then after that, I'm like, all right, guys, I've seen it. Now I'm ready to go home again.
Need to go.
Yeah, now I'm ready to go. This is now probably 3:30 a.m. And Dan's like, and Dan Powers goes, dude, wait, I'm talking to Grinnell. He's coming. Like we guys, because we're pretty close with Grinnell as well. So he's like, you got to stay for Grinnell. And I was like, all right, I'll give it like fucking 20 minutes, So Grinnell shows up, and he was like, we were like, dude, where were you? He goes, dude, I went home after the game and like I was changing to come out and I just passed out. Like I fell asleep. And I was like, no way. Like, all right, like I guess you're ready to go. So now we're going to be staying out with you for another 3 hours. So, he comes in, he has his, 30 minutes with the guys with the cup hanging out where we were. And then the night, like the club's kind of winding down at like 3:30. So 3:30, we're all like, all right, now let's go home. This was awesome. Night's done. What a time. As we're walking out of Omnia, this is where the night gets, this is where the night gets like my favorite part. Because I'm not like a club guy at all. Like you couldn't catch me in Omnia like on a typical night ever.
I think that's valid.
So as we're walking out of Omnia, sure as shit, we run into Jack Eichel, Keegan Colasar, Nick Hague, and they're obviously buckled. Like I would think we're like a little bit drunk, but not like too messed up.
Yeah.
These guys are like, we're going to McMullen's. And we're like, what the hell is McMullen's? Like, so Chris Powers looks it up. It's like 2.5 miles off the strip.
Yep.
But Chris is like, we're going. And me and Dan are like, dude, like they're not going to show up there. Like what could this place be? So Chris like motivates us enough. Like we've already made it this far. We got to just see this night through. Let's keep going. So we take an Uber to McMullen's, which is like in like a shopping center in like bumblefuck Vegas, essentially. Like there's like nothing around. And we're like,
oh yeah.
Yeah. And we're like, are we sure we're in the right spot? And Chris is like, let's just wait it out. So we walk into this place. There's 4 people in there. 4.
You're like, are you kidding?
And this is now 4 a.m. So,
oh my God.
So we sit down at the bar. We look around and we're like, all right, like these guys aren't coming. Like,
yeah.
And I'm just like, all right, let's. I think Chris might have said it actually. He's like, all right, well, let's have one friend beer to finish up the night, and we can hang our hats on that.
Yeah.
So we order one beer. First of all, I order the beer, and I was like, give me a cider, like something light, like
like something tame.
Yeah. So I look at this like red beer, and it's totally not a cider. It's like basically a Guinness. So I'm like, let's get 5 of those. And after they pour the first one, everyone's like, no, we'll just make the rest Bud Lights.
Yeah.
Wow.
They didn't want any of that. And I was like, fuck, like, I guess I'll take this one. I ordered it. Like, all right. So we're sitting there having our friend beer. And 20 minutes later, we look over, we hear the door, and we look over. It's Eichel, his girlfriend, Colasar, 2 girls, Haig, and like 5 other dudes. And we're like, all right, here we go. Yeah. So now, they come in, they order beers, they order food, and now we're all just kind of like sitting at this counter together, 4:30 in the morning, eating, drinking, just shooting the shit, having a good time. Like, I think Nick Hague was talking about, like, I knew it. Like, I knew we were going to win. Like, just, like these, they're having the time of their lives. But they also like, we're at this like crazy random bar. Like,
and it's like just
people.
them.
Yeah. 20 people. So, we're obviously like letting them do their thing. Like the 5 of us are kind of like on our own at the bar. And then, like half an hour, 45 minutes goes by. Kolasar actually and Haig had left. We talked to Haig for a little bit, but Kolasar was with people. Those two had left. So now it's just like the five of us, me, Grinnell, Dan, Chris Powers, and Red, and Eichel, his girlfriend, and their buddy. So 8 of us at this bar. It's now 5 a.m. Jack's telling us all these stories, like,
awesome.
stuff I probably can't repeat. So
no, you're good.
But like, we got to ask him like full disclosure questions, like off the record stuff. And he was like, giving us everything. And his girlfriend was so sweet as well as their friend, like, kind of just like felt like buddies, like shooting the shit, and now at this point, also the sun is up. So like, and Jack's got like a burger and fries in front of him that he's picking at. Also, so that's it's 5 a.m. So 8 a.m. back home, I FaceTime my dad. My dad's like getting up, getting ready to go to work. And I'm like, hey, what's up? Like, say hi to Jack, flip the camera, which was super cool. And then, obviously it gets to like 5:40, 6 a.m. and we're like, all right, boys, I think it's time to shut it down. So we took that. I don't know if you guys saw, we took that like pretty awesome selfie with like the 5:40 timestamp on it. And Jack, obviously, we all look pretty fucked up in it, but
y'all look
your
eyes
that
was
my favorite part. Like seeing the cup and seeing everything was fine, but just having like actual like shoot the shit kind of time with Jack after he won the Stanley Cup at like some random bar in Vegas is like what I'll always remember. Like that was super cool. And sorry if I talked too much, but that was pretty much like literally like 3 times I was like, guys, I'm ready to mail it in. Like I'm dead. Like I did a full 24 hours.
Yeah, no, this was an amazing 100%. Story.
I fell asleep at 6:45 a.m. So I was up at 6, fell asleep at 6:45, which is which is back home 9 to 9. And then granted, I took a red-eye flight that night and went straight to my office yesterday morning. So this was all like one fucking crazy long ass day.
I saw that photo you posted, and being a native New Yorker, I'm gonna take a wild stab and say that had to have been 14th Street Union Square.
Yep.
That you took, and I'm like, that clusterfuck of a station at rush hour. I'm like, good God. I was laughing to myself. I'm like, man, if I was hungover, took a freaking red-eye flight back to New York, and I had to ride the MTA, someone's getting decked. The moment I hear Showtime, someone's getting fucking decked. Johnny, you understand exactly what that reference is to.
Well, it's also like it's like 4 trains passed by and no one got off, no one could get on. So I was also like, all right, you know what? I just spent the last 14 days on a bender and I worked out once. I'm just gonna walk home from the East Village. I walked 3 miles over the Williamsburg Bridge, sweated with my backpack on, sweated my ass off, and you know what? It felt great. And then I slept for 13 hours last night.
Good. Okay, good. So last night was your first full night of sleep.
Yeah.
Did this morning waking up, did the reality set in more so like, holy shit, what was this week? What was this past 14 days? I mean, it had to be a little bit surreal and pinch me moments, right?
Yeah, I mean, there is so many different things that I think back on, and I'm like, I mean, I don't want to like weird brag, like Brett. I don't know, like.
Okay, shut up. You can weird brag.
Don't worry. Like.
But it's not bragging.
Talk about it, man.
Yeah, like it's not bragging. It's just like
talk about it.
I think what I'll take away most, and what's still like setting in to me, what's like the coolest thing about this now is like there were guys that or people in general that I grew up watching on TV that like introduced themselves to me, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like I was standing on the glass, like getting ready to go on the ice, and Mike Rupp walked up to me and tapped me on the shoulder and was like, "Hey, I wanted to introduce myself, Johnny. I'm Mike." And I'm like, "Dude, I know who you are. Like, you're the man. Like, you are the man. Like, I grew, And that was like, I still am trying. I'll never put that together, which is really cool. But like, I think having people, I think for me, what really is the cool thing is like, to get on like a deeper level, I guess I'll open up a little bit and be vulnerable. Like a year ago, I was living at home with my parents, podcasting out of my mom's bedroom, and, like never would have guessed I'd be at the Stanley Cup final. And then like, my parents we had a house fire last year in April, lost all my shit. And the first thing that I got after the fire was a microphone. I was like, this was like, I couldn't stop doing this, like talking about hockey and, the Rangers go on their run last year, which was like a huge distraction for me. And like being able to build off of that and like turn that into this is like, this is like the first time I've actually talked about it. And I still somewhat haven't coped with that, which, is weird because when you think about it, like, how many times do you hear like if your house is burning down, what would you grab? Like, what, I didn't grab anything. Like, we got to go into the house like after whatever, like it wasn't like burned to the ground completely. Like I got to grab some stuff, like after the fact, but like when you really think about it, not that anyone can, I'm sure there's people that can relate, but like stuff is just stuff, like I guess nothing really matters that's like an object, but when you have something that you're passionate about that can like drive you, I think that just like is the biggest thing in life, right? Like, and the fact that this all like came to life to me is just like, I can't believe it. And it's just, I think I guess the message is just like, if you believe in yourself enough and you love something enough, like nothing can fucking stop you, and yeah,
I fully echo the same sentiments fully, and I appreciate you sharing that greatly, Johnny. Like because like and this is also like somewhat of a disclosure point, but Johnny, like you and I, we've spoken private before, and I've shared with you like bits and pieces of my own personal story, and in the short time that I've gotten to know you, and I feel like we've only followed each other for like only maybe a couple of months, if not a little longer than that, but it hasn't been that long. But in the short time that I do think it's amazing and it's stunning how we've connected, all three of us, but especially me, you, and Johnny. But especially Johnny and I, like whether it be through here, and then I had no idea about the hockey news in terms of the opportunity. That opportunity came out of nowhere. It did. So, and I'm saying that because I didn't have a house fire, but I told you this in private, Johnny, and it's the first time you're hearing this, but I was homeless at the end of 2021. So at that point, the only thing that I had was just the fact that I love doing radio. And I had my broadcasting career on ESPN Plus hadn't even started yet at that point. So you talk about having the love and the passion for something, you're like, you know what? I may be going through the worst of the worst right now, but that passion, that fire is going to carry. And it's so true. You just have to remember that when you're going through those low moments and those low periods of time where it is going to change, it is going to get better. This is where you discover what is going to take to get over the top. And I think, Johnny, you couldn't put it any more beautifully than that. So like, no, seriously, salute to you, and I'm fucking proud of you.
Thank you, guys.
And for a lot of different reasons, and Anna, of course, you dominating sports media, covering the Kings on Bally Sports West. That's something that is not to be overlooked, and that is to be saluted. I'm proud of you because like I do think that women just need more opportunities in sports media, and I've been very vocal about minorities and women having more opportunities in sports media. But no, it's something that I really just wanted to say that this season, although we have been working together for a short period of time, it's been absolutely unbelievable working with you guys, especially on this pod, for real.
No, and I got to be honest, it's kind of cool hearing this from you guys. It's actually really cool hearing this from you guys because, and I kind of told you guys, but I grew up in this business. Like my dad was a producer growing up. So I'm like one of those sports kids that moved every 2 years, but his job kind of in a nutshell was going around and launching the Fox Sports regional sports networks. So I was born in Minnesota and my dad was a producer for the Minnesota Twins. My first game, my first time traveling on a charter was when I was 5 months old. So when I say like I have my head up my ass in this business, I genuinely mean it, you guys. Like there was, by the time I was 10, I had been to every major sporting event. I had been down the sidelines. I had been on the ice. I had had all these experiences. And I sit here and I'm so envious of people who get to genuinely like experience it and genuinely are like, get that pinch me moment, because it's like, holy shit, you get to sit at your hard work and you get to sit and relish in your hard work. And you get to sit there and be like, I could have never imagined myself, 10 years old where I'm at right now. So applaud your guys, like applaud it for you guys. And again, like personally, I am so jealous, and it almost like, I know I met you guys a couple months ago, but it almost makes me emotional. I'm also really sappy. I like cry at everything, but it makes me emotional because it's like, it's cool, and like it especially as somebody who grew up in it, like seeing that genuine, just like, holy shit, like it's so cool. And it reminds me like, this is why I'm working in sports, because it is the most authentic, like, call it what it is. It's entertainment. It's a reality, TV series, but it's the most authentic in the sense that like everyone working around it, everyone that's involved in it, it's continual pinch me moments. It's continual like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm here moments. So I think adding the gravity of both of your guys' life experiences, Shukri, what you just said, being homeless at the end of 2021, Johnny experiencing a house fire, that's fucking nuts, you guys. Like, and I'm also like, I'm really into therapy, so just bear with me. But like, really, like, feel your feelings, y'all. Like, y'all need to take your homework this week. Anna, the therapist, your homework this week is to like really sit in that and like understand the gravity of what y'all just did, because that's fucking so cool, you guys. Like, this is amazing.
Well, that was like literally the first time I've done it.
Yeah, exactly. Like
yeah,
that's like,
and that's dope. Yeah,
that's so cool. And like, that's what I mean. And I'll be the first to say this. I've never been on the ice with people celebrating, and I think like hockey is one of those sports too, where it's like, maybe it's because like we followed it growing up, but regardless of whether you've played it, whether you've been in the sport or not, like it's the most emotional sport to me, because you just it's, I don't know. And I'm not like, I'm not going to say it because I work in sports, but there are other sports that I just find kind of like, like going through the motion. But like hockey, you got to pour your emotions out. You got to be emotional playing it. You have to put your body on the line. And especially with the Stanley Cup, I mean, it's the best trophy in all of sports. It has a red carpet. It has the theme music that comes out. I mean, you can't make it up. So I feel like it adds that much more emotional, gravity to the situation, because you're sitting there on the ice and you're like, holy shit. So I don't know how you didn't get emotional sitting on the ice, Johnny, because I would have been a wreck. I would have been sobbing.
I mean, it kind of like is just hitting me, the last, it was, well, it was party mode. I'm in Las Vegas. Like, if I was in Winnipeg, I would have been a little more sappy.
You're on the ice and you're like, I gotta find Mr. Tao. That's the thing that's on
like, my phone battery's at like 20%. I gotta charge this thing up because I'm gonna be out for the next 6 hours. That was all.
Like
I was
everyone else
about.
Is winning the Stanley Cup. Johnny's like, anybody got a phone charger? Like, anybody?
I didn't give a shit about the cup. But yeah,
yeah, there's like not much else to say. What's yours? I guess because I'd assume this is the last episode of this season, at least, because we started this in playoffs. What's your guys' biggest kind of takeaway moment from this playoff series that'll be the most memorable for y'all? Shukri, you go first. Johnny, you had a bunch, so we'll give you time to think.
It's not a dread, man, but it's more like, damn, Anna, damn. Not you didn't even give us no time, no way of saying like have a moment.
Normally we'll email out a rundown. Y'all didn't get shit today because I want
exactly
emotion. So
I'm not even mad at it. That's where the best shows happen, when it's not planned 100%. Like, there's still some structure, but when it's not completely planned. But to answer your question, my biggest takeaway from this entire playoff run, I don't want to limit it to just specifically the Stanley Cup final, but seeing what hockey means to the smaller markets in the NHL. That's my biggest takeaway, because we are so wrapped up in terms of like knowing what hockey means to millions of hockey fans, of course, obviously in Canada and the United States. And Johnny, you being the writer and reporter for the New York Rangers for the Hockey News, myself being a writer and reporter for the Boston Bruins for the Hockey News, both original six franchises with very deep tradition, history, and as well as like the fan bases and in the markets that we cover it in. I think it says something in terms of when you see markets like Florida, like I'm gonna say the Miami metro area, although they play in Sunrise, that is the Miami metro area. Las Vegas, Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina. Dallas is a major market. But specifically the three out of the four I just mentioned. Um, I think seeing how much like hockey truly matters in those markets really gave me an even deeper and greater understanding. And as well as I'm going to include Seattle as well, because Seattle really showed out during their first playoff run as well. But it goes to show you just how much hockey really means to these fans. And when you put a product on the ice where that the team is competitive, they're not only they're going to show up, but they're definitely going to show out. And I thought it was just really remarkable to see why hockey will grow, especially in Seattle in the Pacific Northwest, and will continue to grow in these smaller, non-traditional hockey markets in that regard. I'm using that term very loosely.
No, I think that's, if anything, the game grew a lot this year.
Yeah.
I think just to piggyback off that, but I'd also say, biggest takeaway would be how great it is, like what we're doing, I guess, and how I think we need more younger people talking hockey. I saw that Dana White clip go viral yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I haven't. Yeah, but I'll check it out.
He's talking about like how there's no one young promoting hockey and whatnot, and I think the more younger people that can show their love and passion for the game and talk about it, and talk about it on a pretty informal level, I think that can go such a long way. And I think like being around a lot of the media the last like 2 weeks, they've always they came up to me and were like, it's great to have a young, fresh voice like in the game, and like the more people that can do that, I think the better. Because that's what's going to get this sport growing, right? Like younger people talking about it, knowing it, celebrating it. I think that's a takeaway for me as well. Is like if you're young and you love hockey and you want to do this for a living, like start now.
Absolutely.
I think just the more fresh people we have in this game, the better, and that's how we all get it to grow, right? So I think that's my biggest takeaway.
And I want to
you said.
I want to piggyback off of Johnny's point, because I thought that was really poignant. So, and I'm saying this to the audience, to those that don't know, like my story, I would say, and I do strongly believe this is the truth, I'm not where I am now with all that I've been blessed with without me creating content starting in the spring of 2021. I'm dead serious. And it goes back to 2 years when I retweeted this, I think it was earlier this calendar year, that when I started making videos, trying to pump up Bruin fans, get ready for the Stanley Cup playoffs. This is really right coming out of not just the lockdown, but coming out of the COVID-19 restrictions and so forth, making videos, as the Bruins were getting ready to play the New York Islanders and so forth. If I didn't start doing that and using that as a way to catapult myself in terms of getting myself out there, in terms of creating content, I don't think I have the broadcasting opportunities that I've had with ESPN, doing college games on ESPN Plus, the Hockey News, I would even believe itself. So I would tell people that are trying to get into the industry, that are trying to get into this business and trying to get into like becoming hockey. Hell, there aren't many African Americans or even Black Canadians that are doing what we do. And I say that to encourage people. If you have a smartphone in 2023, you truly have no excuse. It's not impossible. Just pick up the phone, start recording. That's it. Literally, that's it. And then post on TikTok or Instagram hell, even Twitter, because that's really where I built my name, on Twitter.
Twitter's
So I would tell people, like, that's how you do it, and it takes time, and be patient, be consistent with it. And yeah, absolutely. And Johnny is spot on. There's never been a better time to do it than now, especially with social media, especially in the age of smartphone. There is no excuse. The world is literally at your fingertips. Get into it.
Final thought of the season. As you guys were saying, gonna piggyback off of it. Way to go. Everyone works really fucking hard. Sometimes working in this business, it looks easy because we get to sit here and we just get to talk about sports. It's not. You have to put yourself out there. You have to hustle. You have to just be shameless sometimes and just really, really, really put your confidence out there to be judged. So bravo to you guys. Excellent fucking job covering both of your teams. And I'm so excited to see what's in store for both of you guys in next season. Don't be a stranger. Get some off time this summer. Hopefully take some vacations or something. Y'all deserve it. I know we all work other jobs other than doing this stuff, even though this stuff is so time consuming. So well fucking done to both of you. For Johnny Lazarus and Shukri Wrights, I'm Anna Connolly. Thanks for joining us on Pass, Shoot, and Score.